Senator Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. McCabe, who is responsible for the misbehavior outlined by Inspector General Horowitz in his report about misfire hurricane?
Well, it depends on what you're referring to, Senator. If you're referring to the intentional misconduct committed by Mr. Kleinsmith, quite obviously Mr. Kleinsmith's responsible for that. I think from a command perspective, Director Comey and myself and our subordinate leaders are all responsible for the failures in that package that were allowed to go forward. But if you're asking me who is responsible for intentional misconduct beyond Mr. Kleinsmith's activity, I'm not aware that there's been a finding that others were engaged in intentional misconduct.
While you were either director or acting director of the FBI decided to investigate two presidential campaigns. One, Secretary Clinton, the other one, then candidate Trump and later President Trump. I want to put aside Secretary Clinton for a second. When the FBI decided to investigate candidate Donald Trump, what questions did you ask? I mean, at some point, somebody came to you and said, "Hey, Mr. Deputy Director, we're going to, just so you'll know, we're going to investigate the Republican nominee for President of the United States." Do you remember when you were told that?
So if you're referring to our initiation of the Crossfire investigation, so the investigation of the Trump campaign, I do remember conversations at the end of July 2016.
Okay, I'm not interested in the date. Excuse me for interrupting. I apologize. Would it be fair to say that the Christopher Steele dossier was the keystone of the investigation?
No, sir, that's not accurate.
Oh, well, how important was it? What word would you use?
It had no importance. We were not in possession of that information when we initiated the case.
Okay, so you're telling me when you initiated the case, Christopher Steele's dossier had nothing to do with your decision to go forward?
That's correct.
That's your testimony today, under oath?
It is.
Okay. At some point, the Christopher Steele dossier became important, did it not?
The Christopher Steele reporting came to us in the middle of September, and it became important to us at that time.
Okay. Now, when you heard about the Christopher Steele dossier, did you ask to interview Mr. Steele? I mean, you're only investigating a candidate for President of the United States. After you've already investigated one, now you're on the second one. Did you say, "Hey, I'm the deputy director here. I'm responsible. I want to talk to Christopher Steele"? Did you do that?
I did not personally speak to Mr. Steele, but our investigative team traveled overseas.
Why not? You're the deputy. This is what I don't understand about this whole thing, Mr. McCabe. You're the deputy director of the FBI. And your people have decided to investigate the Republican nominee for President of the United States after already investigating the Democratic nominee. And at least in part, at some point, it was based on the Chris Steele dossier. Now, you can run from that one, but you can't hide from it. Did you ever call your guys in or gals and say, "Hey, just a thought, I think I'd like to talk to Chris Steele to see how credible this guy is," because you say you've never known him. Did you do that?
Senator, in my entire experience of 21 years as an FBI agent, I am not aware of a single instance of the deputy director of the FBI interviewing a source. And
well, how many nominees for President of the United States have you investigated?
I can't comment on that, sir.
Now, but you're telling me at no point you ever sat down and said, "Wait a minute, guys, this is now all based or substantially based on Chris Steele. I want to talk to this. I want to talk to this cowboy. You never did that.
That is not an accurate characterization of our investigation.
That's what you just said. You said you never talked to him. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth.
You just saw Louisiana Senator John Kennedy completely dismantle former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe in a masterclass of accountability. Kennedy didn't let McCabe hide behind bureaucratic excuses, tearing into the fatal flaws of the Crossfire Hurricane investigation. Now let's go straight to the full uncut footage of this legendary confrontation.
No, sir, I'm just trying to clarify that the Steele information didn't come to us until 2.5 months after we'd opened the case.
Well, when it came to you, did you say, wait a minute, guys, this is my reputation on the line. I want to talk to Christopher Steele.
No, Senator, I sent my investigators to conduct the investigation.
Okay. Do you know who? Do you know who Igor Danchenko is?
I do not.
You have no idea who that is, even today.
I am not going to speculate as to who he is.
Well, he was the subsource that the Steele dossier was based on. So Senator, you're telling me, I want to be sure I understand. You're the assistant director of the FBI. You've decided to investigate the Trump campaign. You get this dossier, which, whether you admit it or not, was the basis for all the FISA warrants. You never sat down and said, I want to talk to Chris Steele. If you had talked to Chris Steele, you would have found out that his subsource was Igor Danchenko. That was his primary subsource. Danchenko was not, he wasn't from Russia. He was some guy in Washington, D.C. working for Brookings. He went to the University of Louisville. He went to Georgetown. He was buddies with Dr. Fiona Hill. He was relying on his drinking buddies. Why didn't all of you folks who are running this show say, wait a minute, this is all centered around Chris Steele. We better talk to Chris Steele, and we better talk to this guy Danchenko.
Senator, it's important that I get this out. So if you could give me just a second.
Sure.
I am not sure that I have now read the report of the subsource interview, and the interviewee's name is still redacted in that report. So I do not feel comfortable acknowledging or confirming or denying any identity that might be associated with that person.
His own lawyers said it was him.
Here's what it looks like to the American people, Mr. McGay. The FBI didn't even try here, the people making the decisions. You wanted to investigate Trump. I mean, this is a nominee for President of the United States. You've already investigated the other one and potentially screwed up her campaign. And so you get the Steele dossier. You don't sit down, you personally, and Comey, you don't talk to Chris Steele. You don't even ask questions about where he got his information. Had you done that, you would have found that he got it from Danchenko. Danchenko's a jellyhead. Okay, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And it all would have come apart. But you never looked. And it sort of looks like you didn't want to.
Is that a question?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I can't possibly disagree more strongly with the way you framed that question. That while it is true that I never sat personally with Mr. Steele or any of his alleged sources, our team spent a great deal of effort interviewing him, interviewing other people that they thought were relevant, and trying to get to the bottom of the material that he provided. So, no, we were not predisposed to investigating the president. It wasn't something we sought out to do, but we felt that the potential national security threat put us in a position where we were obligated to investigate. That's what we did.
And you expect American people to believe that?
That is the truth, and I certainly hope they believe it.
General Flynn's been prosecuted for lying to the FBI. You lied to the FBI and you aren't being prosecuted. Don't you think that sends the wrong message to the American people?
Senator, General Flynn's situation and mine have absolutely nothing in common. I never, ever intentionally misled the FBI or the IG under any circumstances. And I think that's probably the conclusion that the DC U.S. Attorney's Office came to when they dismissed the 2-year investigation of me.
But you weren't fired for parking in the handicapped parking spot at the FBI, were you? You were fired for lying, were you not?
I was fired as the result of a deeply unfair and flawed IG investigation, and I am challenging that termination in federal court.
Okay. Last question. Do you have any idea, Mr. McCabe? I don't think Mr. Comey does. Do you have any idea how badly you and your colleagues have hurt the FBI? I mean, the premier law enforcement agency in all of human history. And it was just a handful of you. And now when the average American gets a knock on his or her door, FBI, I need to talk to you. At least half of them are thinking, oh my gosh, is the agent a Republican or a Democrat? They probably know my party affiliation. Do you have any idea how much damage you've done?
Sir, my colleagues and I never took any action to undermine our effectiveness, undermine our oath to this Constitution and the American people and the work that we did for the FBI. I deeply regret how politicized the FBI has become in light of the rhetoric and the relentless attacks levied upon it over the last 4 years. And I have great faith that my former colleagues will continue to do their work and ignore those sort of baseless attacks.
Well, at best, what you and Mr. Comey and the others did, at worst, it was intentional. And I don't know what's in your head or your heart, but I can tell you what it looked like to the American people, at the very minimum. An incompetence tsunami. And they're thinking, how did these guys make it through the birth canal?
Yeah.
That's all I got, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, you just witnessed a masterclass in exposing institutional negligence. Senator Kennedy cornered McCabe over the origins of the Trump-Russia investigation, pressing him on how leadership could launch an unprecedented probe into a presidential campaign without basic verification, even though McCabe tried to distance the initiation of the case from the infamous Christopher Steele dossier. Kennedy dismantled the narrative, pointing out that failing to vet Steele, or his primary subsource, Igor Danenko, exposed a staggering level of investigative malpractice. The interrogation escalated when Kennedy exposed the glaring double standard of justice in Washington. While lower-level actors and political opponents faced aggressive prosecution, top officials walked away despite committing glaring errors under oath. When McCabe tried to defend his record, Kennedy hit him with a hard truth: getting fired for misleading investigators isn't a parking ticket, and the American people see right through the institutional spin. The defining heartbeat of Kennedy's takedown was a stark warning about the long-term damage inflicted on the premier law enforcement agency in the world. Kennedy told McCabe straight to his face that because of the partisan actions of a handful of top leaders, everyday Americans now look at an FBI badge with deep skepticism, wondering if agents are acting on political affiliation, ending with a blunt assessment of a systemic incompetence tsunami. Kennedy spoke for millions of citizens who demand honesty and neutrality from federal institutions. If you're tired of the deep state escaping accountability, smash that subscribe button right now. We're here to keep the swamp accountable. John Kennedy proved once again why he is the sharpest, most fearless voice in the Senate. He refused to let institutional leaders gaslight the public, holding them directly responsible for the erosion of trust in our justice system. What did you think of Kennedy's legender?